Hello again and thanks for joining. What we have here is number 5705, which is a class 57 locomotive. Really interested to see what this is like. Anyway, you can see that this one is made in Denmark, which is quite interesting that it's not made in China like lots of other manufacturers. So it's going to be quite interesting to have a look at what we've got here. So let's get this box open and we'll check it out. So it comes with an instruction sheet which tells you how to keep this locomotive in good running order, and in fact it's got a 5-pole motor. It's quite interesting. One of the things I like about this Heljan model is the first thing they say is thank you for purchasing this Heljan model of the class 57 locomotive. It looks like 57 is actually handwritten, but I do like the fact that they're thanking you for purchasing from them. That's quite cool. Down here it's got buffer beam detailing, some extra parts that you can fit in, quite extensive amount of pieces there. And on the other side of the leaflet it has even more parts you can fit in, including snowplows, which is quite cool. And then it shows you about how to fit in a DCC chip if you want to. On the back there's an extensive list of parts for this model, and you can see that there is actually quite a lot of pieces that make up this model. So 2 extra parts bags. This one here has the bright yellow snowplows, and we also seem to have some drawbar couplings in this bag as well. And we've also got this bag which is full of little extra pieces. I guess this is all the buffer beam details. And here is the model, and it looks quite impressive. What is also really impressive is the weight of this model when I was taking it out the box. It's almost like one of those old Markland models which are made of all metal. It's such a heavyweight thing. We'll put it on the scales a little bit later. This one is in the first Great Western livery, and it's number 57605 Totnes Castle. I think that's how you pronounce it. A very handsome livery, this one, in that dark green with the kind of gold band on it. Looks really impressive, but let's check this out a bit closer up. So as soon as I started to look at this a bit closer, I saw some of the problems with the masking here on the yellow. It's very fuzzy on the edges there, and that's a real disappointment. There's so much detail and lovely things to enjoy on this model, and masking should be spot on, and it really isn't. At the front of this locomotive, it looks like we've got lighting here, and it's very characterful of this class. We've got some wire handrails added into the front of this locomotive which look really good, and we've got transfers for the overhead flashes which look really good, and the numbers very clear as well. The buffers are black and also sprung loaded as well, which is really good. And the buffer beam looks a bit plain on this, but we did see that we've got a whole bunch of things that we can add onto there that haven't been fitted yet. And that also extends to the coupling down below. So I'm starting to think that this model has never been run because the coupling hasn't been fitted. The windows flush fit and clear glazing, and the windscreen wipers are extra parts that have been added in, and they look really good as well. The side window is moulded half open, which is very characterful. It's nice that they've done that. And they're also very clear and flush fit, and you can see inside that we do have an interior which has got more than just one colour. It's a bit low relief there. I guess it's covering up some of the mechanicals inside this model, but it's really good that it's actually in 2 colours there. So starting to look down the side of this locomotive, the gold is very nicely applied in that transfer, and the number there is also very clear. We've got some other printed pieces down the side here which are all really nicely applied. This silver part checkerboard just under the door, it looks really good too. And we have some wire handrails and the door handle picked out. There's another warning panel at the top here applied as a transfer, and this orange little line running the whole length of the locomotive also looks really good. It's so fine as well, but it's absolutely crisp and spot on. The side of this locomotive is quite plain, but we do have a window here which again has flush fit glazing. Can't really see anything inside there though. And as we move to the centre of the locomotive, the first logo is here on this door, which is moulded pretty well. And the centre section with the fuel tank and other pieces. There's a lot of transfers added on here, just like in the prototype, which look really good. And we've got this pipework as well, picked out in white. Not absolutely fantastic where these brackets hold on the pipework, where they'd be painted in black. And coming down this end of the locomotive, there's more decoration with the first logo, the Great Western there. And it's really good how the gold fades in there. They've really captured that very well. The number and name has been applied really good as well as transfers. No real differences at this end of the locomotive. So looking on top, we've got some nice rivet detail. These fans look very convincing. These silver ones as well look really good. And we've got some panels picked out in different colours up top as well. And here where the exhausts are is another colour as well with rivet details around it, and all the vents down the side of this locomotive. It actually looks really good from the top, and you normally see the top of the locomotives mostly when you're running them, and it's really good that this has got so many details on air and different colours as well. It's really quite an interesting locomotive. So just looking at the bogies, it's had good moulding here, lots of deep relief, spring details, axle boxes are good as well. Looking at the drive, the wheels on the outside of the bogie seem to be driven, the middle ones on both bogies are just free to revolve, and they actually move from left to right quite a lot as well. I guess that's to help it get round corners, but it does look a bit odd when you look at it like this. It should be fine when we put it on the track, which we'll do in a moment. There's no brake gear in line with the wheels though, so I think while the side of the bogies looks really good, from underneath they're not really that good. A couple of moulding marks on the bottom of the fuel tanks and centre pieces, but this is certainly a heavy model. It's quite difficult to handle, so I'm just going to put it on the scales and we'll see how much it weighs. So this one comes in at 685 grams. So as I thought, quite heavy, but I'm hoping this is going to be a good performer, so let's just put it on some test track and see how it goes. So it was quite difficult to get this on the rails, not really quite sure why, but I managed to get there in the end. What we've got here is just some Hornby third radius track. Now I use this old track to test locomotives on because if it can run on this, it can run on your nicely laid track. As usual, I'm using my H&M controller to power this on 12 volt DC, so let's give it some power and see what happens. Well, it needed a little push there to get going to begin with, but once it did, it was absolutely fantastic. It's a very quiet runner, and it's also very well geared as well. It can just move at such a slow speed and it has no problems at all. It also seems to have flywheels on it too, so I think the performance of this is going to be absolutely fantastic. Didn't see any lights working under DC, but I would expect those to work fine on DCC. So overall, this is a fantastic model. It really looks very impressive, and it's a good performer as well. It's such a heavyweight model too though, and I think it would be able to pull any length of train because of that extra weight inside it. There's only two things I can think of which let this model down, and that is the masking of the yellow at the front of this locomotive. It's the same on both ends of this locomotive and both sides, and that really lets this down because the rest of the finish on this model is perfect. It really does look great in this first Great Western colour scheme, and it's so sad that that yellow isn't actually just perfect as well. The only other criticism I have is of the bogies. I think they could have had brake gear possibly, but that's just from underneath, and you wouldn't normally see that when this is running on your layout. But that's a small issue. The masking on the yellow one I think is a major issue. But that aside, this is a fantastic model. It's got so many extra pieces added onto it, and you can add even more parts onto it too. It's got such presence as well. It's such a big beast of a locomotive, and you're going to have a rather big layout in order to be able to run this to its full potential, pulling a very long train, which I think it will be able to do without any problems whatsoever. So it's a thumbs up for me on the Heljan Class 57. Apart from the masking, possibly some other liveries don't have that problem. It'd be interesting to check them out. And if you know otherwise, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this locomotive, and if you have one in a different livery and it doesn't have any problems, let me know as well. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps this channel grow. And I'll put this on the turntable so you can see all the way around. And in a moment, another video will appear. Just click on that and I'll see you there. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. See ya.